clean image if you want MMA to take that next step.
Right. Well, getting back to the fight card from Sunday, Congo versus Barry. Check Congo and Pat Barry. What a great fight. And I will go ahead and admit that I missed the knockout at one point because I was live blogging. Turned around to type, on the keyboard or the phone, whichever one I was using at that point in time. And you can see it on Facebook. It's really funny because you can see the time that I posted the one right before the fight started, and when I posted, wow, that KO was amazing. It was like 2 minutes, I think. And man, check Congo coming from behind. I don't know how he recovered from being hit by Pat Barry because he looked like he was gone. Twice, I believe, he got knocked down to the ground. And man, the way he just set up, it's like he just woke up and he set that first punch up perfectly, waited for that uppercut, and knocked out Pat Barry, and it was done deal after that. Guy was in La La Land.
Well, if anybody's ever seen the movie Snatch, it's the same scenario. It's just kind of getting beat up, knocked around, playing a little bit of opossum there, and then he just, like you said, woke up. But this really wasn't the case. Chet Congo got lucky, threw that upper hand or the right-handed uppercut, caught Barry, and I bet he was praising his lucky stars after that. Saved him from this fight. He's a tough opponent, a former K1 guy, and he just got lucky today.
I've heard luck a lot. I've heard very few people say that it was something that a competent fighter made, a decision that a competent fighter made. Heard a lot of luck. Jeremy, what do you see Chet Congo's just kind of, I guess somebody gave him the smelling sauce and woke him up. How do you see that situation? Is it luck or is it skill?
Well, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. I don't know if you've ever heard
yes,
that. I'm bringing the heat with the cliches today. But, it's a lot easier to be lucky when you're built like Chet Congo and you have the skills that Chet Congo has. You got to remember, this is a guy that went 3 rounds with Cain Velasquez, and that's a short.
That's a huge, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that's a huge thing to be able to say you went 3 rounds with the UFC champion.
So I mean, this is a guy that has a history of at least standing his ground, and it was definitely not an issue where he was playing possum. Like your legs don't go out from under you when you're playing possum. He was out, and it's one of those things I complain about officiating in the UFC as much as anyone. This is one time I'm going to say it. I'm going to break the seal. It'll be the first time that I've probably ever said this. Dan Miragliotta had a better view on that one than I did because I was like, why would you not stop that fight? He's completely out, twice.
Yeah.
But he let it go, and we get one of the greatest fights I think I've ever seen as a result. At least one of the greatest conclusions to a fight that I've ever seen.
Definitely, probably the top comeback in UFC history.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was just amazing. I remember it reminded me of a Tap Snapper Nap one day.
Yeah, Scott Smith had a great one that I thought would be like the one for a while, but wow. I mean, that's going to be hard to top. It's going to be hard to go unconscious twice and still win the fight 10 seconds later again.
Definitely. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us on the UFC Fight Night Live card. When we come back from break, we're going to preview UFC 132, Dominic Cruz versus Uriah Faber. Welcome back to Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver, joined by Jeremy Hurt and John Urcuyo. Guys, still going strong?
I'm always strong.
I'm really just warming up. I'm about to really hit my sweet spot.
Well, good, because we're just about to get off of the goateed fury of Congo and get into the cleanliness of Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz. I guess that's the way to put it.
Young men.
Shut up, Jeremy. Anyway, every time I see Uriah Faber, I think of that K-Swiss commercial with Mr. Eastbound and Down. When he comes in, he's like, "What's up, no shirt?" So that's where the whole cleanliness thing came from. I always think, do y'all think about that commercial you see Uriah?
Almost never.
Really?
Exclusively.
Every time I see Uriah, it's kind of hard to take him seriously. He makes really funny commercials.
I don't know how you can't get off the chin. I can't stop looking. It reminds me of Me, Myself, and Irene, that Jim Carrey was in.
Oh man, it's just it's just one of the. He's just a really funny guy. He actually made a commercial that's on YouTube right now. He's like playing Xbox Live, and this guy does all this stuff to him, and they meet up, and he kicks his butt. It's really funny. Go look it up, YouTube. Uriah Faber versus Gamer. It's really funny. Back into the card though. Going back into the card. Matt Wyman and Dennis Seaver. We get to see Dennis Seaver come back on the card fairly quickly. I believe he's on the card about 2 months ago. I want to say it wasn't that long ago when we saw Seaver on a card. In this fight, I believe you have a stand-up fight with two guys who have great stand-up game. Matt Wyman having great jiu-jitsu, and Seaver having that great kickboxing. I really see a stand-up battle going here.
Yeah, I mean it's a question of negating the area that Wyman has that advantage, and I believe Seaver does have the rounded ability to be able to do that. Man, I hope we're not picking a winner on this at any point, because I like this fight. This is one of those where it's going to have to shake out.
Well, I agree 100%. It's a tough one to pick. At least we know that it's going to be exciting. Two guys, like you said, more likely to be standing up, and it could just come down to whoever connects solidly first and takes advantage of it.
And we got to see Seaver's takedown defense in his last fight. And I really feel like Jeremy said, he can negate Wyman's takedown in jiu-jitsu. So if you negate that, I feel like Seaver comes out on top. I'm going to go ahead and say Seaver's going to take that one.
If I were forced to pick, I would say it's going to come down to that precision striking, and I would probably slightly, barely, in the margins, lean towards Seaver.
Don, who you got?
Well, I'll have to float with the boat, I guess. I'll stay with Seaver as well.
Seaver, all right. And speaking of picks,
we love Germans on Off the Mat.
Speaking of picks, you guys can go on UATVonline.net, and you'll be able to see our picks. Everybody on staff will have a pick of the main card, and we'll pick our favorite preliminary fight, and we'll tell you who's going to win that one. But getting back into the card, Carlos Condit and Stun Gun Dong Hyun Kim. Man, I love Stun Gun. After seeing him in his past two fights, he's probably one of my favorite fighters. It seems like I say that a lot. I mean, there's a lot of guys in the UFC that I like to watch the fight. I'm sorry. But Carlos Condit, Kim saying that Condit is basically not ready for the level of athlete that he is. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, the Stun Gun, he's an exciting fighter. The guy's got 17 wins under his belt, very scary. I think Condit's got his work cut out for him. Really, I like that he called him out. I like that he's putting the pressure on Condit. He's really going to have to come out and prove that he isn't, getting puffed up by the media or what these fans think he is. But I got to go with, I like Dong Kim. I think he is exciting. He's fast-paced, athletic, and I think he's going to be something the UFC is going to be backing up very, very much.
I was actually kind of surprised to see Kim call out Condit, because you don't really see a lot of Eastern fighters have that sort of mentality where he didn't really. I don't know if I want to say called him out, but he did. I mean, it was underlying call out, but he kind of did it in a calm way, like I'm better than he is and he's not going to win kind of way. I felt that was not out of character, but it was a surprise to me. I was like, this is probably going to be a pretty good fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be a good fight. I don't agree that Carlos Condit's overrated at all. I mean, the guy's got the resume. You can look at it. At the same time, I don't think he's as good as Dong Hyun Kim. I think there is a separation there. Obviously you can make a pretty good case for Yushin Okami, but I think that Dong Hyun Kim may be the best East Asian fighter in all of mixed martial arts right now. His judo game is just fantastic. We haven't seen someone adapt the judo to this since like early Karo Parisian day. I really like Dong Hyun Kim. I like him in this fight. He's combined judo with wrestling, and he's made himself very difficult to beat, and he is an elite athlete at that weight.
I agree. I believe he's probably top 3 out of the fighters from the Eastern world. I mean, you have Okami, you have him, and then you have the Korean Zombie. And I really feel like those are probably the top three guys, and in that order, as a matter of fact. If you had to pick a winner, who you got?
Oh, I'm going with Kim all the way.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll go with Kim.
We all picked Kim. All right. Well, I guess we're unanimous on the board so far.
It's a harmonious episode of Off the Mat.
All right, guys. When we come back, we'll go over the rest of the card, and we'll give our lock 'em up, knock 'em out right after this. Welcome back to your final segment of Off the Mat this week. As always, I'm Bernard Oliver. That's Jeremy Hurt, and that's John Urcuyo. Going into these last couple of fights. Now, this fight coming up, I don't know if this is more of a spectacle than the Shamrock Tony fight or what, but Tito Ortiz is fighting Ryan Bader. Now, I don't know about John, because I'm sure John he gives his voice about Tito too, but Jeremy and I are pretty vocal about Tito needing to retire from the UFC. Bader's probably going to take his head off. I mean, I don't see it coming out any other way.
Well, the only real good thing about this fight is that Bader might cripple him enough so he can't come back. I think that Bader is just going to beat the crap out of Tito Ortiz, excuse my language, and I can't wait to see it. because I am just sick and tired of him hanging around the UFC, picking up these fights, wasting people's time. Tito is just, annoying when it comes to the UFC. I want him out. I think Bader is 2-3 times the fighter that he is, especially now. Tito, this is your farewell. Hopefully you can walk after this fight.
Ryan Bader coming off of that loss to John Jones, definitely looking to put somebody away.
When are we going to have Tito on the show? Probably not anytime soon.
We probably don't want to see Tito after as bad as we talk about him on here. He was a great athlete back in the day. He's just, it's time for him to walk away.
Tito has certain things that he does very well. He's very underrated jiu-jitsu game. He almost caught Lyoto Machida. He's gone to Abu Dhabi and done well there. And obviously back in the day, he did very well when he could hold top control. The game's moved past him. It moved past him in about 2004, 2005, somewhere around there, and it's 2011. He's one of those guys. He represents a certain something for the UFC, a certain early day, glory days, big name at one time. He was really the first superstar that the UFC saw between the early Royce Gracie days and its later Zuffa incarnation. But again, it's passed him by. You look at Ryan Bader and you look at Tito Ortiz. These are not two comparable fighters, in my opinion. To me, Ryan Bader's a much better athlete, much stronger. He's a better all-around fighter in almost every area, except for experience, and that's what Tito has. But I mean, experience is nice, but experience don't win your fights every time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I do feel like this is a little bit one-sided, and Tito's never going away. I mean, let's face it. If Tito was going away, he'd have gone away a long time ago. I mean, this guy hasn't won a notable fight since he stole the decision against Forrest Griffin. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just calling a spade, that's the way it's gone.
Yeah, that's true. And like I said, I've got Bader all the way in this fight. He might win by KO. Not might. He's probably going to win by KO. Just because Bader is just that top tier athlete. I mean, he's one of the best to do it. He lost. Let's face it. He lost to John Jones. I mean, that's the current champion, right? The light heavyweight champion. I mean, who else has he lost to? He's what, 12-1, I believe. He's number 2 right now. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say he's number 2. He's top 5 in light heavyweight.
John Jones makes a lot of people look silly. He made Ryan Bader look silly. He makes a lot of people. He's made everyone look silly.
He made Shokin look silly.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll knock Tito out. That's one thing about Tito. He's a cockroach. He hangs in there and survives as long as it's not Chuck Liddell. And I think he'll hang in there and he'll survive as best he can. But I do feel it's going to be ugly.
All right. Speaking of KOs, we have the formerly steel chin of Chris Lieben versus the returning Wanderlei Silva. Now, the way this fight is going to go is really up in the air. I mean, it could go either way. Silva coming off of, being off for a long while. Lieben coming off of a knockout or being knocked out. I mean, man, there's so many ways this fight can go. I'm really going to go with Wanderlei, but let's get your guys' take on this.
I mean, the history of Chris Lieben's career has been he's really good whenever he can get into a fist fight with somebody and just sort of come at them and make it about who's got the chin that's going to last the longest. But whenever he gets in a fight where he's kind of against somebody who physically is just at a different level than him, Anderson Silva, Brian Stan, you go all the way back to Josh Koscheck in the original Ultimate Fighter. When he faces that guy that's just physically on a different level, he doesn't really know how to react. The question is, how is he going to deal with Wanderlei? Because Wanderlei's a big, strong, fast dude. Even in the state that he's in these days, which isn't near the Wanderlei that became Wanderlei, he's still a guy that, when put next to Chris Lieben, is physically a much more capable guy.
And speaking of the Ultimate Fighter, there are 3 returning fighters from the Ultimate Fighter 11. We have Brad Tavares, Chris Lieben, and Dennis Seaver. All were on the Ultimate Fighter 11. Just a little tidbit of information there. I didn't know if you guys were aware of that, but just kind of cool note. But going back to the fight, we're gonna get John's take on that. John.
Well, like we were saying, Wanderlei has been around for a long time. He's a proven fighter. He's someone who is, exciting for fans. Another good thing about this fight, 2 guys who throughout their careers have had very good chins, able to go the distance, take battles, stand up. That is what this fight is going to be all about. I think Silva has something to prove. He's been gone for a while, hasn't gotten very many notable wins in a very long time. I think this is kind of like not a homecoming per se, obviously, but coming back to the UFC, really showing that he is a top MMA fighter. He's a legend in the sport. And Lieben, I think, is a good fight for him because he does have the advantage. It's a stand-up fighter, someone who has the ego to think that they can stand up with a champion, former champion like Silva, but doesn't really have the skills to defend himself against that. I think Silva's definitely going to come out on top and really put his name back out there. Maybe not in a hunt for any kind of title, but at least to let everybody know that the guy can still fight.
All right. Well, John's going with Silva. Jeremy, who you got?
I'm gonna save that because this it goes into my lock 'em up, knock 'em out.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely gonna go with I want this fight to go to my lock 'em up, knock 'em out. But on the safer side, I'm gonna pick another fight for that. So I'm taking Wanderlei. It's really put up or shut up for Chris Lieben. If he loses another one, that'll be 3 in a row. I believe that's going to be the whole cutoff thing. But he's Chris Lieben. If he loses, he might still get a chance.
Chris Lieben's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's a poster child for the sport. So if he does lose, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. But it will hurt his career. Going into the main event, Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz. Now this fight is amazing, and I'm so happy to see the rematch happen. I really wish they were marketing it as Faber Cruz too, but WEC UFC stuff on there, so not marketing it that way. But this is a rematch. Dominic lost the first time, and he is the champion now, and Uriah coming for that belt. This fight is beautiful. Dominic, in his last fight, was so unorthodox and so crazy running around the ring against, I believe it was, what's his name? Scott Jorgensen. Man, he was so just everywhere, but so much precision being everywhere. He wasn't like, a chicken with its head cut off. He was more like, a chicken holding its head, I guess you could say. I don't know. That's how I explain. That's how I feel like Dominic Cruz fights. He fights like a chicken holding its head. You know what I'm saying? It looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he does know what he's doing at every point in time in the fight.
Well, we had a discussion several months back about the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. You remember I was big on Dominic Cruz then, and I'm still big on Dominic Cruz. Uriah Faber's a guy that brings a lot to the octagon and a lot to the outside of the octagon, as we kind of got into earlier. He's kind of one of these guys that they thought was going to be a superstar that they could push and put in every commercial, and he has been to some degree. He's an elite fighter. I'm not sure that he's at the same point in his career right now that Dominic Cruz is at in his. I kind of see this similar to the Aldo Faber fight. I think that Cruz can stay outside and can kind of hit him from the angles on the outside, and doing so can take away a lot of Faber's effectiveness by hurting his legs, hurting his midsection. And that's what I expect him to do in this fight, and I do expect Dominic Cruz to come out on top.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Uriah's not going to get to take down Dominic Cruz, which is where he would win the fight. I feel like Dominic's going to stay on the outside, just like Jeremy said. He's going to hit him with those strikes that very unorthodox stand-up, and that's how he's going to take the fight.
That's right, absolutely. Stick and move. Moving around. Uriah isn't the man he was. He's not so young anymore. Definitely still a top-tier athlete, but I think, like Jeremy was saying, Dominic Cruz, he's a world-class athlete. He's possibly one of the best fighters in mixed martial arts altogether. He's quick. I don't know how Faber's going to be able to try and keep the pace and keep pushing and get close enough to Cruz to even make any kind of attempt at takedown, which Cruz has, a very effective takedown defense. I don't think it's going to be. I think it'll be an entertaining fight, but I don't see Cruz not coming away still the number one man at that position. And
Cruz's ground game is very well too. I didn't mean to discount his ground game, but I just don't see the fight going to the ground. Well, guys, it's time. It's that time of the show. It's time for Lock 'em Up, Knock 'em Out. We've kind of been on a hiatus from the last couple of weeks, so I won't get your picks on that fight because it might fall into your Lock 'em Up, Knock 'em Out. For our Lock 'em Ups, who you got, Jeremy?
I got Wanderlei.
Wow.
Chris Lieben is going to submit Wanderlei Silva. I said earlier that the question of this fight will be how will Lieben deal with those advantages that Wanderlei has. And obviously Wanderlei, he's Brazilian, so obviously he's got good jiu-jitsu. Lieben has a very underrated guard. I think that what he's going to do, he's going to allow Wanderlei to kind of bull rush him, overpower him a little bit, get him on the ground. And I think that he's going to work that guard, try to be as dynamic with it as he can. And I think eventually what you're going to see is Wanderlei's going to leave an arm in there. He's going to leave an arm in there, and he's either going to get that arm taken or he's going to get triangled.
All right, John, who's your Lock 'em Up?
I'm also going with a little bit of an unorthodox thinking, going with Dong Kim. I feel like that aggressiveness is going to really, take this, might end up putting Condit on the ground, getting that little ground and pound in, and then just be given something like that. Maybe take the back, maybe come around for an armbar. But I think Kim's going to have a submission for the win.
You know what? That is actually my lock 'em up. I believe that was my lock 'em up.
Stole it right from your brain.
Just took my fire. But yeah, I really feel like Kim, if he doesn't get, I guess, the knockout, I really feel like that he's gonna lock up. And man, I can't believe you stole that from me like that.
Hurts, doesn't it?
Going to our KOs. You know what? I'm gonna go first on
All
our
right,
KOs.
well,
I'm gonna take Melvin Gillard over Shane Roller. That's on the prelim card. Like I said, you guys will be able to see. That's actually my prelim fight to watch out for. So you guys will be able to see that later in the week. Well, not later in the week, but before the fights on Saturday, you'll be able to see that. My write up on that. So yeah, Melvin Gillard over Shane Roller is my knockout.
Well, I agree with you that Melvin Gillard, that's a great fight to look on. The entire undercard's nice. I like all the fights on there.
Beautiful.
Me personally, I'm sticking with the undercard. I like Aaron Simpson to finish Brad Tavares. I think he gets him on the ground. I think he abuses him once he gets him there. So I take Aaron Simpson knocking out Brad Tavares.
Right on. John, who do you have for your KO? Knock him out.
Well, I'm going to have to go with probably what most people would pick, Bader taking Tito Ortiz's head off.
Low-hanging fruit.
I was a little rough on Tito earlier. I do respect his contribution to MMA, but you got to know when it's time to go. So I think that Bader is going to finally put a dot at the end of this career note.
Well, guys, great show again, delivering for the people, for the masses. Guys, remember, you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/offthemat.tv. You can follow all three of us on Twitter at John Arcuyo, at Bernard_Oliver, and at Jeremy Hurt.
2 T's.
2 T's. You can also follow Off the Mat on Twitter at Off the Mat TV. That's going to do it for us this week, guys. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's John Arcuyo. That's Jeremy Hurt. And until next time, we'll see you at the fights.